Okay, I'm recording. Hi, everybody, and welcome to Hanukkah Pong. Okay, hi, everybody, and welcome to Hanukkah Erotica, a podcast.
Hanukkah used to pay a little more for that prime placement, to be honest with you.
A podcast sponsored by Hanukkah Pong. Hanukkah Erotica is a podcast where me and Malia review Jewish romance books, but it is sponsored by a beer pong game shaped like a menorah called Hanukkah Pong.
It's really taking me a minute to recover from that. Okay.
That was good. Okay.
Yep,
well,
yep.
hello everybody.
Strong.
Hello everybody, and welcome to Hanukkah Erotica, brought to you by Hanukkah Pong. There you go.
Great.
And even though you might be listening to this in the summer when it comes out, Hanukkah's just around the corner.
And it creeps up on you.
It does, and it's available on Amazon. And don't worry if you missed your Prime Day deals, because Hanukkah Pong is affordable.
Amazing.
Anyway, hi Mal.
Hello.
Did you do any Prime Day shopping?
You know, we went nuts here with Prime Day shopping.
Tell me more.
We're not usually, as you know, Rachel, first of all, we live in a very small apartment. We're usually we're very selective in general about what we purchase. We're just, we don't tend to go whole hog in these sort of consumerist binges, but we really threw caution to the wind because we realized you could sign up for a Amazon credit card that gave you 5% off all Amazon purchases, but 6% off on Prime Days. We were like, we need that extra 1%. So we were just searching for any Amazon item that we needed anyway, but could buy
like
today.
Ziplocs?
Oh yeah, we bought aluminum foil. We bought trash bags. We bought just a host of exciting purchases along those lines.
Things we never thought would have been exciting, but are now very exciting.
Yes, this is #39, I think.
I think so too, because at work they got me a cordless vacuum. Do you have a cordless Dyson?
$200 bonus sign up, by the way. William wants to note also for signing up for the credit card. It's a good deal.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Sorry. Cordless.
No,
what?
please. Do you have a cordless vacuum?
No.
Oh, okay. Well, it's all I could think about. Sorry, listeners. I'm sure this is really entertaining about Ziploc aluminum foil and cordless.
It's very erotic. It's romantic. We're hitting all the heavy,
Dyson.
all the notes.
The cordless Dyson, but they got. I guess, long story short, they got me a cordless vacuum upstairs in the office at work because I had a little dust buster. Mm-hmm. But there was a lightning deal on Amazon for a cordless, and then I just got it in my head that we needed one of these cordless. They're it's like a rechargeable vacuum for the house. I don't like plugging it in. It's cordless, but it's like with a long handle, like a regular vacuum, but lighter.
Sounds great.
Oh,
Wait, your
it's
colleagues
amazing.
got it for you at work, and then you got another one for the house, you're saying?
Well, the other one for the house is coming Friday, but it's all I've talked about for at least 2.5-3 weeks. But yes, it wasn't like a present at work. It was like we got one for the office because I have a hairy office. My hair sheds a lot. And I'm constantly dust busting.
That's considerate. I like that.
So instead of using the dust buster, they got me a cordless rechargeable vacuum.
Got it.
Anyway,
and
you
have one for home too. That's great.
Honestly,
I'm excited
I think we gotta edit this out. This is snoozer stuff. But anyway, it's coming Friday. I'm really excited. Okay, tonight we're talking about summertime. No. Jewish Summer Camp Mafia.
Yes. Jewish Summer Camp Mafia.
So Molly and I are focusing on books about summer. And last episode we were talking about how I feel like there's actually not enough books about Jewish summers. And there's a lot of different kinds of Jewish summers that I feel are very romantic and possibly erotic. And
absolutely.
I want more. But then we started to kind of do a little bit of a deep dive, and I came across this book, Jewish Summer Camp Mafia. And Malia wanted to read it, especially because the main characters are in the description were Barry and Mushki, who are two of Molly and William's daughters' names.
Bizarre. That's a bizarre coincidence. Like what? It's not like the name. It's not like it's like Emma and Sophie. I don't know, or like just sort of two common names. It's like Barry and Mushki. I don't understand how that even. I still am befuddled by that.
I am too. So it made us kind of say, okay, we're reading it next, plus the name, plus the description. And now here we are. I'm dying to know what you thought of it. It's written by Melina Saval. And it is more than a romance. It's like a teen angsty. It's very angsty. It's almost... Is it a coming of age book? It's more like a teen angsty nightmare than anything else, more than a romance.
So I guess here's my question. So as I've said before, as we've begun this foray, I really don't know YA as a genre beyond the books that we've read here. But it seems to me like this book is very different than the other YA books that we've read. There's a lack of wholesomeness here. I felt like there was something sort of wholesome about the other YA books that we read, even though of course there was romance, there was sex, sexuality, there was rebelling against parents, there was all kinds of parental issues. It wasn't like everyone was sort of some goody two shoes, but there was a wholesomeness that is really not present here. These characters are, first of all, they're cursing, and I realized that the other YA books we read have no cursing in them. Did you notice that?
No, is that true?
I think it is. Going by coastal, not a curse word to be found in any of those teens' mouths, I'm pretty sure.
I don't remember.
Because we were saying at the time that they came off the Going by Coastal characters, which is the YA book we read our last episode, seemed very mature. And I wonder if the lack of, because I feel sort of over-the-top cursing is sort of a mark of teenage years almost, and it's part of what makes teenagers sound like immature teenagers, and it's missing from some of these other books, but here you have it. And again, there's just sort of these characters are not likable in the same way that the characters in Going by Coastal are. Do you know what I mean? Did you like these characters?
No, they weren't likable, but also I don't know. I think what you're saying is it YA? I don't even know what. I don't even know that it was if it was a romance. I feel like it was something else.
It's not YA, you don't think?
It just felt like something else to me. It didn't feel it didn't feel like a romance. It felt like a angsty coming of age. I don't know what novel, but I don't know. Maybe I guess maybe it is YA. But it was so basically what happens is Mushki Mendelsohn is about to go into her summer with her best friend Barry, and Barry convinces her to go to Jewish summer camp. It's a reformed Jewish summer camp that they mention over and over has a optional kosher meal plan, which by the way I reached out to a camp expert to be is that even a thing? Optional kosher meal plan? Is that a thing in camp, or is it always kosher? No, I didn't get a response. Aren't camps just kosher or not kosher? Is there a camp that's you could choose?
I never heard of such a thing, but I'm no camp expert. I don't know.
I hadn't heard of such a thing either. Anyway, so Barry convinces her to go for the summer to work at camp for the summer going into senior year of high school. And Mushki was kind of reluctant, and she's like, oh, I know what it's like at camp. They're all like the Mafia. The longer you've been there, the more in the family you are. And she gets convinced by Barry to go, and then Barry pulls out because she is gonna be in Thailand at one of her dad's. Her dad owns McDonald's in Thailand.
Her dad's a religious guy who owns McDonald's, right? Or it's some weird dynamic where he
Yeah, something that Barry finds completely hypocritical that she's very angry about. And she's
happy to go to Thailand with him.
Happy to go to Thailand on the beach for the summer. So lo and behold, Mushki ends up going to the camp alone.
They're not really best friends, by the way. There's some weird passage where it's we never really listen to each other talk, and that's why we never have an argument.
Right, they're frenemies.
Yeah,
maybe.
They're sort of friends by, I don't know, in some kind of they've been thrown together in some kind of survivalist teenage world, but they're not real. There's no nice. They don't have a nice friendship, right? Exactly.
Right. That's a good point. She kind of hates her. Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of it felt really yucky, including that.
Again, it's a lack of wholesomeness of this book. I thought all the other YA books we read, there was some nice friendships where people were supportive. No, none at all really here.
Right. Right. Then and the thing is, like, I was thinking about, like, comparing it to other angsty things that I've consumed or loved. But the thing is, I can't, because the other things that in our lives that we love that's like teen angsty is My So-Called Life. But it's different because there's too much to love about it. Like, I can't even compare this to that, because even though there's angst and Angela Chase and Rayanne and Brian, like they all have, they have Ricky, like they have a lot of teenage hormones coursing through them, and they have that angst, but there's just so much about it that's really beautiful. And this feels like a lot of yuckiness.
I feel like My So-Called Life is the opposite of this. Like, Angela, the main character in My So-Called Life, sort of like cares overly much about everything. Like, every romantic moment is so meaningful. Her friends are so important to her. Like, every interaction with her parents, she analyzes. Like, here, this character sort of cares about nothing. Everyone's very jaded.
Right. She's very jaded. She is. There's a lot of really funny and also really weird lines. And
yes,
definitely a lot of references to Judaism, but their Jewish identities in it are sort of interesting. And so her family names her Mushki, and they are not really observant. They're like, she describes them as kind of like kosher light, like,
right.
She definitely goes to Hebrew school. There's definitely a lot about her life that is Jewish or kind of flecked with Jewish tradition.
Yeah.
For sure. Like, even in things at camp that are optional, like Shabbat services or Tisha B'Av, which I thought was funny when they like accidentally observed Tisha B'Av on the wrong day in camp.
Right, that was very funny.
But she'll like go to those things.
And she asserts that like she doesn't eat bacon, even though, and I actually felt like, sadly, this might be a little, I wonder how true this is, that like in the other books, again, I just can't help but contrast this to Going Bi-Coastal, because it's the last book we read and it's also YA. There's like a variety of Jewish practice that you see, and everyone's very sort of supportive of each other. Here it's kind of like the less religious kids sort of scoffing at the more religious kid. More religious meaning like you don't eat bacon.
Right. And they were like, well, do you? Well, have you ever had a cheeseburger? Have you ever had a cheeseburger?
But well, why?
But the thing is, like, this book was written in like 2013, and I think it's about, like, I think it takes place in like 2011.
Right. It's about a very specific moment.
It was a while ago now.
Yes.
And I think part of what we're feeling is that also. Like, Going Bi-Coastal was more current.
I was going to mention that to you because I did feel like this is clearly taking place in a very specific moment. There's a lot of cultural references, as I would think, with like a lot of like teenage cultural references. Like, for example, like, it's funny because skipping ahead a little bit, her love interest, like there's a whole moment where she realizes he likes sort of like, I don't know, like female pop singers that she thinks are sort of like silly and bad, and he starts talking about Taylor Swift, and this is like before Taylor Swift became like the huge kind of like sensation that she is, and was just sort of like a, I don't know, like a silly pop star who wrote like a love story, like in the early Taylor Swift days. It's just funny like how all that has, my point is, you're totally right. It's like, I don't know how well it stands the test of time, because there's also a bunch of like sort of yucky, like, I don't know, mocking of different groups that I think is also not current.
I agree. Like, there's definitely, so her love interest is basically like one of the only non-Jewish guys in the camp, and she has a really big reaction to feeling these feelings for this non-Jewish guy.
Right.
His name is Dev McGillicuddy, and he is of Irish descent. He's American, like never been to Ireland, but he grew up Irish Catholic.
Right.
And she has a really big reaction to it, and says a lot of things about it in the book that feel cringy being read today, I think is that what you're saying? I mean, other things too, but that's one example.
Yeah, that's a big example. Absolutely.
And you're just kind of like reading it and cringing a little because you kind of can't believe what's being said. But then when I put myself in the shoes of a 17-year-old in 2010 or whenever this is taking place.
Right.
Like, I thought a lot of really ignorant things too when I was in high school.
Sure, and that's actually what I was thinking is like, you know, I said again last time we spoke that like going by coastal made me feel optimistic about like kids being teenagers in the city and having this really positive time. I feel like, I don't know, putting the time putting the timeline aside and the fact that this was like 13 years ago or whatever, maybe this is actually a more realistic portrayal of what it is like to be a teenager than going by coastal was.
Right, possibly. I hope it's not, and it's just that it's a different time now, and that this is what it was like being a teenager then, and being a teenager now is a supportive and diverse experience.
Right.
But
there's a lot of very not body positive descriptions of people, like just sort of peppered throughout the book.
Completely. And also she makes a friend her co-counselor in her bunk is kind of I hate this word, J word that rhymes with happy, but she is this very specific type of archetype from Westchester.
Yes.
And her dad's an OBGYN, and she's really gross. And she has
she's over the top. She's really over the top.
She's over the top and really that word, really J word, and she smokes cigarettes, which I didn't even think would be possible at like a summer camp, like a kid's summer camp. I don't know. I'm telling you, it was different then. And then she has this excuse of how she's not going to swim for the whole summer. She wrote she wrote something on like her dad's prescription pad.
Right.
That she has like middle schmerz or something. Which means like something during ovulation, but it's definitely not a reason that you can't swim.
Right.
But she was just like, no one's going to know what it means anyway, so this is going to be my excuse to not get in the lake for the whole summer.
Right.
And she's sort of like, I already have a Barry, I don't need her too. Like, I already have a friend I kind of hate.
Right.
So she meets this guy Dev on day one, and he becomes extremely flirtatious from the get-go. He just finished his freshman year at Emerson College, and she's from Boston also. So she's just like, oh my God, what? Like, he he's like, I have my own apartment on Commonwealth, and she's like envisioning, seeing him at his apartment during her senior year, and he's like super hot, he's tall, he has blonde wavy hair.
He's really into her, just like unabashedly.
Yeah, like immediately right away.
Yeah.
He's, is like giving her major compliments, but then also like, so have you ever had sex?
Right.
And I was wondering, like, is this just ridiculous writing, or is this just completely realistic, like how two strangers who feel very close out of nowhere just because you're both in camp together for a day and a half act? And like, I do think it's something in the middle. Like, I do think being in these kind of immersive experiences together makes people feel extremely close very fast. Like, at one point they were together for 4 days, which is in the camp world, they'd been together for years. Like, people are chanting about them. The director's about to fire them. By the way, there's a lot of ageist stuff also. Like, there's like a 42-year-old unit head.
Right. They think he's so lame. Like, he's like basically I don't know, they describe him like he's a criminal basically because he's still coming to camp and he's 40.
And and then there's a woman also who like is wearing like shirts with political statements, and I'm just like, she's basically our age. Like,
yeah, she's us, basically. Yeah, totally.
And but there's a lot of that. And yeah, so anyway, so she meets Dev. He's like,
but really, I also wonder, like, she says when like she says, like, when boys like you, boys like you when they start talking about sex, when they always want to talk about sex. And I do think that there is something to, like, I think when kids are young, people are young and they're trying to flirt, even though you think it's like not so sexy to talk about like sex that you've had with other people. You know what I mean? Like, you'd think maybe you'd want to steer clear of that topic or whatever. It's like, at least it's introducing the concept. I do feel like there's something to that.
Yes,
like, that seems realistic to me, I guess is my point.
Yes. I do. I think that the way that they were interacting, though, it seemed like bizarre looking at it through our lens now. I do think is like the way like a 17 and 18-year-old at camp would like flirt, you know, like I do think that. But I remember reading it, and he was like, how was it? But like that was an assumption that she had sex one time, which by the way was true, but I thought it was funny. Right. Like, how was it? Like, you didn't say, did you have sex once? Like,
how was it? Right.
She's like, it was bad. And he Feist was on.
Feist was on. That was funny.
But yeah, at the very beginning when they met, she immediately has a reaction to and an awareness of him not being Jewish. He's like, what are you looking at? He asked. Nothing, I answered. What's your last name? McGillicuddy. It was as I suspected. I should have run away right there and then, sprinted, made a mad dash, sprouted wings and flown. McGilla what? Like Mushki Mendelssohn is any better? It's a lot better. It's alliterative. Dave raised a brow like he had no idea what the word meant, which worried me. I'm Irish, she said. Very Irish. Irish Catholic. He peered at the dainty diamond chai around my neck, symbol meaning life in Hebrew, a bat mitzvah gift I got from my rich cousins in Scarsdale. I'd been wearing it for 4 years straight. Non-Jews would come up to me all the time asking if it was an elephant. It was too big of a pain to explain it wasn't, and so I just tell them it was. Pretty necklace, he said. Thanks, I said. I know what it is, Dev said. He pulled out a long silvery chain from underneath his t-shirt. I've got my own symbolic charm. It was worse than a cross. It was a claddagh. I don't even know what a claddagh is. I had to Google it.
I assumed it was like a 4-leaf clover or something, but that's just, what is it?
It was some other Irish symbol.
Oh, wow. Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, and so she has all these moments where she's like, I should have run. And it's like, you know, again, I think we live in a different time now when it comes to, and maybe it's ridiculous of me to say, like, it's only been, I don't know, 10, 12 years, but 10 years probably since it was written, but I know, like, it isn't it. We are living in a different time now, actually, when it comes to intermarriage, when it comes to acceptance, like when it comes to I don't know. It just seems like, can you even write this anymore? I don't know.
Well, I don't know. You know, she talks about also like going to see like a lot of like Holocaust films with her parents. I forget how she integrates this, but she talks about how like her parents would always take her to see like Schindler's List and Sophie's Choice and whatever.
And Europa.
Yeah, and then afterward would be like, see, you can never intermarry. And then she was sort of be like, you know, like in a typical teenage fashion, she's like scoffing at what they're saying, but then she's also internalized it, obviously. But I feel like I don't know, I feel like it's depicting maybe a certain generation that
I think that's true.
Had a very specific Jewish identity that was very like based in fear and the Holocaust, like, and you know, Holocaust and sort of like, I don't know, like, proving Hitler wrong by, like...
Isn't our sexy comedy podcast so funny tonight?
Yes, I know. It's all... Listen, I didn't write the material.
I know. But the thing is, like, I think you're right, and like also kind of relate to that. Like, I also watched those movies, and like maybe it wasn't my parents saying it, but like maybe my grandparents were, you know. Right. So I really do get it.
I do think that era is pretty much. Well, I'd like to think that era is over, or at least on its way to being over. Like, it's a different generation raising kids now who, like, don't want to root their identity and things like that. So, like, and maybe I hope that's changed from 2011 to now.
I think it has. I have a little section of them flirting. You want to hear it?
Please.
You've got great hair, said Dev. It's amazing. I want to live in that hair. I want to smell it. I want to hold it against me as I sleep. You sound ridiculous, I said. Stop it. You sound like a bad song. You've got great lips. He traced them with his forefinger. I flicked it away. What are you doing, I asked. Nothing, he said. You're beautiful. 2 of the sexiest words ever spoken by a Gentile. 3 if you count the contraction. Dev, I said, don't kiss me. Why, he asked. And stop touching my hair and my lips. But why? Because you're not Jewish. She trails off. She's not saying this anymore. It's in italics. Because I'll disappoint my parents. Because my Russian Jewish great-grandmother's hardened expression is looming large in front of me, calling out, I survived decades of religious oppression and violent attacks of anti-Semitism, so you could run off with a guy? Because there's someone else, I told him. Dev wrinkled his nose as though the idea of it was preposterous. Who? He's a good friend. His name is Berkowitz. We met on family vacation to Israel I was telling you about. He's one of my best friends, and when we both get older we're ready to get married. Married? Anyway, he cuts her off. But yeah, so you're right.
Yeah, there you go. But that's, I mean, I think also like the darkness of like, but they go directly from flirting into like my grandparents fled the Nazis, so I can't let you like kiss me in summer camp. You know, it's like it's right there for her. Like it's like the two things are intertwined. It's very Woody Allen, I feel.
Yeah, no, totally is.
Which is like funny, but it's also sort of dated.
Right. It is. Even what she even mentions Woody Allen at some point in it, which is even that's dated. So then she has this friend Ro we had talked about, and Ro's the chappy girl from Westchester, from New Rochelle, and she is like at one point just like, infertility is the new bulimia, she informed me on our first night as co-counselors, and pregnancy is the new black. I assume she meant black as in the color, as in little black dress, as in pregnancy is on trend, but she actually meant black as in people, as in Angelina made adopting black babies very popular, but now getting knocked up through in vitro is like the new adopting black babies. Like, can you even believe this is the conversation
I don't even know what she's
writing about?
I'm not even really following, to be honest with you. I mean, I'm generally following, but like I'm not actually following. Like, what's she talking about?
I guess there was a time, I don't know, people were adopting a lot of black babies, or at least Angelina Jolie was. She also tried to convince me that smoking while pregnant wasn't as bad as they say. One of the many questionable obstetrical facts she dictated throughout that summer. It can contribute to low birth weight, she pointed out, but given our country's huge obesity problem, don't we want our babies to be skinny? What? So there's a lot of really bananas lines like that coming from
But that's intended to be funny, meaning
of course
like,
it is.
Right.
Of course, Ro's the crazy friend.
Yeah.
Yeah, Rose the crazy friend for sure. Yeah.
There's also a line. Sorry, I actually highlighted something because I read it twice and I literally don't understand at all what it's talking about. It's like she says, "Love is like losing a set of car keys." Do you remember this? Love is like losing a set of car keys. If I had a car, but I don't. I take the tea everywhere that you keep looking for under the couch. 6 months later, you find them in the empty ice tray in the freezer compartment of the refrigerator while you're searching for an ice cream sandwich to eat during MTV's 16 and Pregnant.
Why is love like that?
What is she? I don't even understand how that's funny. Like, it's funny because it's a non sequitur and it doesn't make any sense. And then she just continues on to talk about the first day of camp. But like,
if something was like a lost set of keys that then you find 6 months later and while looking for an ice cream sandwich, that would be fine. But is it love? Love isn't necessarily like that at all.
I don't even understand in what sense love would be like that. You lose it and then you find it again?
But this was she talking about Berkowitz and not about Dev?
She says it at the beginning. No, I think she was talking about Dev. Yeah, love. I don't know.
A cute middle schmers, by the way. I found the part about the middle schmers.
Oh, wow.
I don't know what she meant about the keys, but we do eat a lot of ice cream sandwiches in our house. Do you? And so searching for an ice cream sandwich and finding anything in my freezer is relatable to me, but not about the keys and love. That's weird.
Right.
No, even if she was like a fleeting crush, right? Like, because like that's kind of all this. Like this was like a big crush for her, and like maybe she feels at the time that it was a big love, but really it wasn't. Like, this was a big crush and like a guy she had sex with in camp, and a guy who really hurt her, it turns out. A guy that she was lied to. He lied to her and like made her feel bad and flirted with her and like kind of was lying the whole summer. Yeah. So like that, I don't know, maybe like assholes like that are like keys.
Right. Or like when you
assholes are like keys I find in the freezer.
Yeah. Right. And I appreciate that it ends with the reference to 16 and Pregnant, which is like a very specific cultural moment.
Oh, for sure. Like. Yeah. For sure. That's when this is taking place. There's like juicy couture sweatsuits. There's 16 and there's MTV.
Right. DKNY.
Yes.
There's a lot of DKNY being worn, I feel.
Yes. Yeah, so she's described, right, so I see the painful ovulation. It lasts up to 2 weeks at a stretch, so that's why she was able to not swim. Acute middle schmers, painful ovulation.
Got it.
Amazing.
Got it.
Amazing.
I do feel like questionable permission slips to be exempted from various things are like a hallmark of adolescence.
Oh, for sure, and also I intensely relate to that. Bobby was very comfortable letting me get excused.
Free with the permission slips.
Oh, completely. I had a whole host of things I didn't participate in school because of my heart condition, and looking back,
Right. Good for you.
Yeah, no, I was definitely fine.
My brother didn't take Spanish because he had a language disability.
That's a good example.
Like, is that even a thing? Unclear.
That is a great example of a way
Yeah.
to not have to be able to graduate without taking an additional language.
Exactly.
Even though he had to take Hebrew.
Yeah, he'd been learning Hebrew since kindergarten, and
his
no
language.
one seems to question that. Right. Couple holes there, yeah.
Okay, so then they're talking about their day off. Dev and Mushki are talking about their day off, and and he's like, "You don't have to walk," he said. His azure, is that how you pronounce that? Eyes twinkling in the sunlight.
I think so.
Because I've got a car. And she says the 4 sexiest words ever spoken by a Gentile at a Reformed Jewish summer camp in the middle of godforsaken nowhere. That's like she's constantly referring to what he said as the 6 sexiest words ever spoken by a Gentile, the 4 sexiest words ever spoken by a Gentile.
Recurring shtick there.
Recurring shtick. They also, this is funny. I also feel like sign of the times. Earlier, Ro had informed me that anytime she went out with a boy, she always ordered the side salad with a low-cal dressing. You can never, ever let a boy know you eat. I was starting to see her point, but I was also getting hungry, and Dev didn't know where the hell he was going. One thing about me is that I've never trusted anyone's blah, 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 blah. Anyway, that idea of, like, the girl in camp being like, order a side salad with low-cal dressing, like, those people are real.
Totally
Ro
real.
is a caricature of a very real person. I know many of them.
Absolutely. With a lot of, like, sort of very black and white, like, this is the right way to do things, this is the wrong way, about, like, ridiculous.
You can't eat. Like, you can't eat on a date.
Boys won't like you if you eat. Like, very just sort of blanket statement. Yeah.
Right.
And then that sticks with you, like, and for whatever reason, it, like, gets in your head, and you're like, I can never, 20 years later, you're like, why am I eating a side salad whenever I go out? Yeah.
Right. So her and Dev start to hook up. They get into major trouble with the camp. They almost get fired.
Right.
And they have sex, and his phone is ringing a lot because he has a mom who is not well.
Right.
According to Dev.
Right.
And his phone's ringing a lot. And, like, every time they're having a moment, his phone's ringing. In addition to having a mom who's not well, Dev has an ex that he left at college. He sort of broke things off before he went to camp that summer. He pumped the brakes before he went to camp that summer to kind of create space for anyone else who might come his way. He also keeps telling her, like, I love you. We're going to be together forever. I love you. Like, why can't, it bothers me. And also, like, it almost sort of feels like reminiscent to, like, some, I don't know, like, I do have memories of things like this, but, like, why can't they just hook up and have a good summer? Like, why does it have to be so extra? Like, he's like, constantly saying I love you. It's like making her feel completely nuts. She really feels like she loves him.
Right. Because she's like, so this is what happens. This is why camp is like a great setting for this kind of thing, because it's so all consuming. There's like nothing, there's no external reality.
Right. It's like she's in the Chatul bunk. He's in the Kelev bunk. Like, yes. She's a cat and he's a dog. And,
right.
You know, he's head of computers and she's head of radio station. And, they're doing color war and making banners and in the dining hall together. And it's just...
Yeah, they're in this literal world. Yeah.
Yeah, there's literal fireworks on the 4th of July where he kisses her in front of the whole camp. And that's when they almost get fired. Like, they're together all day, every day, and they're really, really into it. And then she starts to have that kind of, like, terrible, anxious feeling when someone kind of, like, pulls back a little.
Yeah.
And it's, like, basically, like, there's much more that's bad than good.
Right.
Like, she starts to feel really anxious. She starts to feel terrible. She starts to, like, see him even just talking to, like, a CIT, like, why are you flirting with so-and-so? Like, she starts to really feel panicked. But in my experience, like, when you feel panicked, your gut is telling you something.
Right.
Like, I don't think people are, I don't know. Maybe some people are panicked because that's what they had done in the past. And so it's, like, the only way they know how to be. But I think that often when you're feeling panicky in a relationship or in a dynamic, it's because you're right. Something's off. Sure. The vibes are off and your gut's telling you that.
Sure.
And that's what's happening here. Like, she starts to, and I'm pretty sure it's, like, right after they have sex, but I don't exactly remember.
I think that's
that, like,
right, yeah.
he starts to pull away a little. She starts to feel insane. And then it's like back to like, I love you so much. Like, it's sort of just like a book about a toxic summer romance more than anything else.
Totally. And how like there's no escape from it. Like in the real world, she could like do something else or go somewhere else. But here it's like they're trapped together.
Right. There's a lot of singing. Like her campers are constantly writing songs and chants about them, about the relationship. I don't know how realistic that is, but it was very funny and silly.
It was cute.
There's also like there are these moments that do feel like so realistic and what would happen in a camp situation, where early on in the summer she mentioned to him that she had a cousin who was very sick in Israel, and then the 42-year-old unit head with the political slogans came to find her one night to tell her that her cousin died. She had gotten a call that her cousin died.
Right.
And, she like ran through the camp, sobbing, looking for him, like screaming, Dev, and found him and told him that her cousin died and was hysterically crying. And she couldn't make, it's like, as someone who's also lost people in situations, I was in college, like it's not, I mean, it's different than camp, but it's like a small campus. Like I know, like I just like know that feeling. So I could just see that happening in camp, where like you're in camp, you're not with your family, you get terrible news, and like the one person you've made a connection with like is the one person you need to tell, but really they met probably 8 days prior.
Sure. Right. But everything it's like camp time. Everything is just sort of stretched out and feels very significant.
Exactly. That was the woman who, at the moment that she gave her that news, was wearing a shirt that said, "The only bush I trust is my own."
I love that woman.
She's us. I love her too.
She's the real hero here.
Yeah. I ran to him. Acid hot tears mixed with rain burned my cheeks. I threw my arms around him, pressing my head against his soft, broad middle. "What's wrong?" he asked, holding me tight against him, smoothing down my hair. "What is it, sunshine?" "Shelley, my cousin, she died," I whimpered. "Oh, Mushki." I loved it when he said my name. I peeled myself away from him, staring at the spot where I'd left a wet dent in his t-shirt, my hair mashed up against my sweaty forehead. I looked at him, knowing that this was the moment that was going to change everything. He looked at me like he knew it too, and then I said it clumsily through sonic hot tears, almost choking on the words. "Life's too short to wait around for a Jewish guy. You haven't been kissed until you've been kissed in the rain at midnight at summer camp by the Irish Catholic head of computers."
It's good. That's some good stuff.
It's good.
That is some good stuff right there, because it has it all. I mean, it's like, and it's like, it's like she's creating a drama. Like, it's like she creates the scenario where she's allowed to break her own rule.
Right.
And it feels very real to being a teenager. Like, I don't know. And maybe this is like, I don't know. The idea of like, she's genuinely sad that her cousin has died, but she's not sad enough that she can't also like kind of manipulate it to her own advantage. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, she's very sad, she's very emotional, but also in this particular moment, the biggest emotion and obsession in her life is this guy. This is the kind of all-consuming crush where it's all she's thinking about all of the time. He is living rent-free in her mind. She's obsessed. She's so obsessed. So yeah, it's like, of course, the first thing she thinks of when she's feeling that is him.
Yep.
So yeah, so then this thing happens where she's at like Camp Shul, and he shows up in his ZBT baseball cap.
Yes.
She's like, "What are you doing?" For our listeners, ZBT is like a very Jewish frat. He's like, "What do you mean?" She's like, "Where'd you get the hat?" He's like, "I'm in ZBT." Looking back, like, was that a lie too? I'm so confused about him and his lies, because I really don't think most of our listeners are going to read this book. By the way, we do have a few listeners who read along with us, and I got a screenshot from one of our listeners, Rena, about how he had a chipped tooth, and it was like, no Jewish mother would ever let their kid have a chipped tooth. True.
Fair point. Yes.
Fair point. But yeah, so like in the end, at the end, like they're like, we'll be together forever. I'll see you when we get back. And like, he literally never calls. He never writes. They never see each other again. And she somehow gets on a college tour of Emerson just to stalk him.
Yep.
And she finds him, and he's with Jennifer, the ex. And all of a sudden it sort of like becomes clear to her that like, there was no call from the mom. It was always Jennifer. Would you have thought of that? I don't think I would have ever been like, oh, that was her the whole time.
Yeah, I don't know. No, it just, and then the book sort of like just accepts it that that's fact. But I was like, maybe it wasn't. Maybe he genuinely just got back with the, like, Camp was a little bubble. Listen, she's not actually significantly younger than him, but when you're almost 21, I could see feeling like a 17-year-old girl is much younger than you. And
of course.
You leave and you're like, I'm going to go back to my college girlfriend who's more like on my level. So I don't know.
That's the thing. Yeah. I thought maybe he just got back with Jennifer.
Right. Yeah, same.
But she's like, oh my God. It was her the whole time. You weren't even calling your mom. When you took that day off to see your mom, you weren't even seeing your mom. And yeah, the book accepts that as fact. And then it sort of made me think, okay, maybe everything was a lie. Like, was he even in ZBT? Because that definitely endeared him to her, right? Like the ZBT thing. She was like, oh my God. It's a sign. Like, okay, he's not Jewish, but like he's in a Jewish frat, and like he's here at the Jewish camp.
Yes. And he said he was the president. Didn't he say he was the president?
Yeah, I think he did. Like, I think he did. Okay, at one point they do get a day away together, and they go to the city, and he's like, I have to tell you something. I'm very curious your thoughts on this, Malia, and also everyone else. He drew a heavy breath. I killed a chicken, he blurted out. I stared at him for quite some time. A chicken, I repeated. It was during rush week. They made you kill a chicken? They made 10 of us sleep naked in a bed with our hands tied to the bedpost while eating corn on the cob dipped in cow shit. You killed a chicken? It's terrible, I know. You're kidding, right? You're just trying to make me hate you, so I'll leave you alone. No, I'm not, I swear. I really killed a chicken. But you're a vegetarian. I know, he said. It was stupid. I was drunk and wanted to fit in. I was only 18. I'm 17. You eat chicken, kosher chicken, and I don't kill it. I don't slaughter it as a part of some barbaric college fraternity hazing ritual. What's the difference? He shot back. It's still dead. I feel sick, I said, clutching my stomach. He pointed to his baseball hat with the ZBT insignia. You're the one who thought it was so cool I was in ZBT, he said. You think that just because a fraternity is Jewish, that it means it doesn't make you kill chickens? You're lying. You're trying to push me away. I'm not, he said. It's true. I just needed to tell you. You can hate me if you want. As I sat there picturing Dev hacking at a hen's neck with a knife, a sharp cramp settled in my lower back. I did the math in my head. My period was due, but this wasn't my period. This was Dev killed a chicken sickness. How could I ever trust someone that killed a live bird? Anyway. Do you like my dramatic reading?
Yeah, it's great, and it's very apropos. Like that sort of like over like that overwrought feeling. You really conjure it. I appreciate that. Yes, well done. Yeah, I mean, I think like, first of all, is it really that big of a deal to have killed a chicken? I mean, sorry, like he said, like she eats chicken. She's not like, she doesn't talk about being some passionate animal activist. That being said, it is one of my, and I know William's, like abiding worst fears, like neurotic Jewish parent worst fears, to like have a kid be like swept up in some stupid hazing thing just to fit in and wind up doing something like genuinely physically dangerous, like eating cow shit or like drinking something that's gonna make you ill. Like that is really, I just hope my children never do that, and if they do that, I never find out, because that just seems that's really up there for me in terms of worst nightmares.
Okay, I've never even considered that as an option of something that could happen. It's not even a parenting fear of mine because I've never even considered it. Thank you.
Good, I'm glad. I mean, I hopefully it won't be real.
Now it's on the list.
I just think it's a reality for a lot of stupid kids who just do it exactly because like they just want to fit in and whatever, everyone else is doing it. That being said, it feels like just, again, like they're looking for reasons to manufacture. They're having drama is fun. You know what I mean?
Right.
So like,
right. Like he's like, I have to tell you something, and then he gets mad at her for feeling weird about it. But he's the one who's like, I need to tell you something, and really he is telling her because he wants her to like, she's right when she's like, you're just saying this to get me to pull away from you. That is why he's saying it.
Right. Totally.
Like this is the beginning of the end for them.
Yes. Yes.
I know the beginning of the end. This is it. Anyway,
Totally.
so she has this guy Berkowitz, who's like her best friend. They met on an Israel trip, and he lives in LA, and they like really love each other. Like they really get along. It seems like a really sweet relationship, like just friendship. She had a crush on his
Pretty
friend.
much the only sweet friendship in this book, I think.
For sure, the only one. She really loves Berkowitz, and they were supposed to see each other because he was going to be in Long Island seeing family, and she's in this camp, so she was going to come on her day off. And then this is what happens. Berkowitz had a change of plans. I can't make it to the city, he told me over the phone. No, I said, why not? I'm just as pissed off as you are. I was going to take the train from Jericho, but now my grandmother is planning this stupid family barbecue thing. I'll be stuck there all week with my weirdo cousin Stanley, who just got back from a yeshiva in Israel and turned totally religious and doesn't touch girls anymore or watch TV. Personally, I think it's just a cover-up because the guy is 27 and still can't get laid. Ever notice how Jewish people tend to get religious when they can't find anyone to not be religious with? Which is hilarious to me.
That is hilarious.
Also, I like that Berkowitz's cousin flipped out, a term
Yeah.
only our listeners know.
Yes. It's always good to have a side, have a like an allusion to something like that. But again, I think it's funny, but it's also like anyone who's more religious in this book in any way, even if it's just like Mushki not eating bacon, it's sort of disparaged. You know what I mean?
Right. No, you're totally right. You're totally right. To the point that she gets pretty lax in camp because she's kind of doesn't want to be on the kosher burger line. She's embarrassed by it.
Right. And it seems like it's kind of structured to be embarrassing. There's the good in-house made non-kosher food, and then there's the stuck in the freezer, you have to get on a separate line to get it kosher food.
Right.
It's like the airplane meals, basically.
It is the airplane meals. I saw this once in the dining hall at Skidmore. Right. So then she's on the phone with Berkowitz, and he's like, why aren't you with your boyfriend on your day off? He's like, because he's going to visit his mother. You're kidding. Why would anyone want to do that? I know, right? Are you sure he's not Jewish? Berkowitz, I'm sure. He drives a Camaro with a bra, and his mother goes to church every Sunday, and he's a fine arts major and doesn't have a job lined up after college, and he has really good hair. Definitely not Jewish, says Berkowitz. And he killed a chicken during Rush Week. He killed a chicken, with his bare hands, and he likes Taylor Swift. This is what you're saying. You're kidding. He considers her a songwriting genius. The thing is, she is a songwriting genius, and only some people knew about it then. But you're totally right.
Yeah.
It is very funny. Also, he likes Kelly Clarkson too. But the Taylor Swift stuff is very funny because she is actually.
And now the whole world recognizes
sees it and knows it, and then it was only Goyesha Dev.
Right, Dev was a visionary actually.
He was. Anyway. She misses Berkowitz. He misses her. They really do love each other, but she's still obsessed with Dev. Camp ends. She sort of she kind of in the end is endeared to Ro. Oh, there's a whole pregnancy scare, by the way.
Yes.
And a Jewish nerd in camp too that she kind of has a sliding doors, what would have happened with what could have happened with that other guy. There was a Jewish nerdy guy she meets on night one, wants to dance with her, but instead she goes the Dev route, which again made me think how much I loved Going by Coastal, because I love that Going by Coastal didn't make us choose. It just we got to see both romances completely play out. That was so satisfying for us as readers.
I wonder if this whole book is kind of like a moralistic cautionary tale, she should have gone with the nerdy Jew.
Yeah, maybe it is. Yeah, we should ask her. Does
she have other books, by the way?
So I think that she's a writer, but I don't think that she's I think she might be a journalist.
Okay, interesting.
She's an author for Variety and Pasadena Magazine, and she wrote The Secret Lives of Boys Inside the Raw Emotional World of Male Teens. It doesn't even say on her little Instagram bio that she wrote this. So I'm assuming it's the same one because she wrote that book, The Secret Lives of Boys Inside the Raw Emotional World of Male Teens. I'm sure it's her. But the weirdest thing is that the only followers we have in common is the Jewish journal and Jonah Platt. So Jonah Platt follows her. So maybe he knows her maybe she's in LA and they know each other. Who knows?
Interesting.
But yeah, no, so she has written that other book, but it's not a novel.
Right. Okay.
And yeah.
I wonder what inspired this. It seems sort of random.
I think she might have gone to camp.
Right. Maybe she met a Irish Catholic.
Honestly, it feels to me like a little bit too detailed to not feel, because it just feels so. It's written like as this like play by play reflection. It's not even written like a book, right? Like it's written like it's a play by play journal entry reflection of what happened.
Totally. And the little idiosyncratic things in the camp are so specific that they're like it's somebody's summer camp experience.
For sure. And then she has also like her whole bunk of campers who she develops relationships with, the girls who love High School Musical and the goth girl, and like, okay, some of that's a little bit fine and heartwarming, but not really. Like, I think generally you're right. The relationships are kind of yuck. It's not really so wholesome. Even like the way they have sex isn't wholesome, which is fine. Like I don't need wholesome sex, but like it is definitely like it's not even sweet.
Right. It's totally.
Yeah. It's like a little bit cringe. That last week Camp Kippawatsquat Kippawanscott yearbooks arrived, leather-bound with thick black spines filled with summer highlights snapped by campers in the photography elective. For days, campers floated from bunk to bunk during rest hour with colored pens in hand, signing yearbooks in bubble-shaped cursive with cartoon hearts above the eyes, drawing J and XOXO beside their names, and making idle promises to be BFFs and LOL and KIT. Flipping through the yearbook, I identified myself in 5 pictures. Anyway, all that, like keep in touch and LOL and BFFAEAE, like,
Totally.
I know it. We all know it well, and
that vibe. Yeah. Of like,
for
I'm
sure.
so devastated to be parting from you after 6 whole weeks or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. And even like making false promises. Like, I remember. Oh, there's also something funny. I went to a summer program at Wellesley College for 3 summers.
Okay.
And even at the very beginning of the book, it's like, I never even went to camp because I went to this summer program at Wellesley. Like, she went to that summer program at Wellesley.
That's
in this
so
book.
Funny. How was that program?
Oh, I loved it.
Fun.
It was amazing. But in that program was called Explo, and it was really, really cool and really fun. And I had a great time, and I made some lifelong friendships, some of whom are listeners. And I also went with my friend Stephanie, who was my friend from school, but also we went to day camp together, so like we felt like camp friends. So we grew up in day camp together, and then we went for 3 summers to Expo together, which was great. And then we made all these other friends. It was fantastic. It was also international. It was really fun. I learned a lot. I had a fantastic time. But this drama of like making promises, like every time I see a maxi pad, I'll think of you, like her camper who got her period for the first time. Like, I said the most bananas things when I said bye to my friends on the last day of a 3-week summer program.
Totally.
Just like tears streaming down my face. Like, whenever you look up into the sky, just know, I'm also looking up at a sky thinking of you. Like,
oh my God.
just the big feelings. Like,
I do feel like there are some adults that don't grow out of that. Like, I feel like there's people who chase these immersive programs their whole lives.
Okay, so I feel that I did that for a little while. I went on Birthright for a while. Like, I staffed it a bunch of times. Like, then I got involved in like Lee Moodin conferences, which like I felt like was a little bit like that.
Right.
Then I outgrew it, but I'm not above, an immersive experience. I mean, I think I might be above it. It's not above it, but my life is not set up for that right now. Right. My family is my immersive experience now.
Right. Well, there you go. Yes.
But yeah, I do think you're right about that. I think that there's retreats, there's conferences, there's people who keep going back to camp.
Right. And then they're mocked as the 42-year-olds who are still in camp.
Right. So last day of camp, 7:30 p.m. evening activity, last day of camp. Campers and counselors congregated on the soccer field awaiting buses to the airport and carpool rides home. A cool end of summer breeze tickled the tips of the grass through which campers noisily clambered on a hunt for their parents. Everybody exchanged teary goodbyes, scrawled their addresses and telephone numbers on the backs of one another's hands and scraps of paper, making desperate vain promises to write, call, email, IM, text, visit, Skype, Facebook, spend school vacations together, apply to the same private schools, request one another as bunkmates, workmates the following summer, go to the same college, live in the same neighborhoods when they grew up, and send their kids to the same private schools. By the way, this is what I'm saying. Like, this is me.
It's just like, we're going to spend our whole lives together.
Literally, it's me. Hi, I'm the problem. It's me. This paragraph was me. Made full-on promises. And by the way, some of it came true. Like, Ariella, my friend, would come and spend Thanksgiving with me, and then I would see her winter break in Miami. And then Ariella's best friend from high school ended up being Jamie, my best friend in college. And that was all because in 8th grade, we were in a summer program together. Like,
there you go.
Ariella Moskowitz, big part of my summers, but we fully like spent Thanksgiving together. Like,
nice.
I would go to Miami and visit her over winter break, but New York winter break was earlier than Miami, so I would just like spend a day in her private school randomly, like following her around from class to class.
Sounds fun.
I don't even know how they allowed that. It's like a liability. Like, I would never allow a random child.
Like that too. Yeah.
So it was
times were different.
Times were different. It's like a liability to have a random child just around in your building.
Totally.
Anyway,
what are they doing all day? Yeah, exactly. It doesn't make any sense.
I'm just following her around from class to class. I don't get it, but really fun, really fun. It was great. The top to Dev's Camaro was already down. He popped the trunk, tossed his backpack inside, and opened the door to the driver's side. I wanted him to open the passenger side and invite me to ride home with him, but of course he didn't. Instead, he reached inside the car and pulled out his ZBT baseball hat. I want you to have it, he said. Also, this is very me. I want you to have it, he said, pushing it down on my head and adjusting the backstrap. The hat was warm and soft and smelled like Dev's sweaty head. That hat is holy to you, I told him. You've earned it, he said. It's yours. Ew, how has she earned it? So it's a goodbye gift, I said, looking down at the ground. You mean this whole summer, and now all I get is this hat? No, he told me, brushing his hand across my cheek. Not goodbye. I'm going to see you soon. I'm going home to Syracuse to spend some time with my mother. I'll call you just as soon as I get back to Boston and settled in my apartment. You'll know where I am, on Commonwealth Ave. We'll see each other all the time. I promise, sunshine. I promise. The hat is just so you can feel me when we're apart. Liar.
Smooth talker,
liar. Anyway, that's the end. And then the very, very, very end, after she freaks out and sees him on campus and yells at him in front of Jennifer and throws a full-on tantrum, just calling him out and just being completely livid about it, which, by the way, go her. I've never done anything like that, I don't think. Well, maybe
that was like great wish fulfillment, because I feel like most women do not do that, but then there's like a part of you that sort of wishes that you did, and here like you kind of get to live it out with her.
Totally. She's just completely furious and fuming on the quad, screaming.
She just lets it loose. Totally.
It's really great. And that's it. It's over with them. She wonders whatever would have happened with Brian Bluestein, and then she calls Berkowitz, and then it's over. Mm-hmm. With an eye toward what might happen with her and Berkowitz.
Right. You're kind of hoping that there's a spark there for sure.
Yep. Somewhere up in heaven, my Jewish great-grandmother was beaming, 10 p.m., lights out. And it ends.
Right.
Yep.
Right. Like I said, maybe it was a moralistic tale. Like, this is what, you try to date the Gentile, you reap the whirlwind.
In 2011. But we're not saying that now.
No. I'm saying that's the message of the book. It's not my message. I'm saying maybe
yes,
that's
I think it might be.
Yeah.
I think it might be. I would love to know. But yeah, I also do think that the whole kind of like Jewish summer camp mafia comparison is just a little bit silly. Like, she's like, I'll never be in with them because I haven't been coming for years. But actually, like, she's kind of the most popular girl there because she's sleeping with Dev.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't really, like, they're counselors. Like, I get that some people come for years, but I don't think it's like that. When you're counselors, most people haven't been coming for years. Like,
Right, some, but then there's like, random foreign counselors and random.
Right, and everybody makes their own like social world. I don't think it's so sort of. Again, that sort of seems like the whole like summer camp mafia. Like, it's sort of, again, it seems like it's very 2013. It's like kind of like from that whole like Real Housewives era. I feel like almost, I don't know. It feels dated to me, even that comparison.
I totally agree. So we may not be recommending this as a read, but we hope it was fun to listen to us rant about it.
Yeah, I enjoyed it, but I enjoyed this process. I don't know that I feel.
Here's the thing. If you feel like reading a book about summer camp, if you're in the mood for that, it's very campy, summer campy. And also, it's a very quick read. So I will say that.
Right. Yes, yes. If you like the real like details of the camp experience, you'll get them here.
Yeah, you will. And also, if it's fun to pick up a book and be done with it a couple hours later. Like, this is a quick read.
Agreed.
And there's a lot of Jewish references in it, we think you'd like. So
totally. There's funny like footnotes at certain points. She like footnotes certain things.
Yeah, the footnotes were funny for sure.
Yeah.
She's definitely defining her terms more than some of our other books.
Yeah. She's assuming she's writing for... That's also funny. Like, she's assuming I'm wondering how large of a non-Jewish audience she would imagine this book would appeal to. Because it seems like she's sort of trying to...
explain what Yiddish is.
Right. I would think someone who doesn't know what Yiddish is isn't picking up Jewish Summer Camp Mafia.
By the way, Tanta Selena, our aunt, Mitch's aunt, was over, and she is a Yiddish speaker, and I was like, "Oh, Tanta Selena, what's a English word you thought was Yiddish your whole life?" Because she's also I'm always like, "Have you listened to the podcast?" She's like, "Put it on my phone. You have to put it on my phone. I'm not going to have it unless you put it on my phone." Like, they're very confused about podcasts. I'm like, just literally click the link in the text. It's going to pop right up. Put it on my phone. I don't have the app. Okay. She's like, "Put it on right now." I'm like, I can't just sit here listening to it with you. Like, you have to listen to it yourself. Like, I can't just like. What? Anyway, so I was like, Tanta Selena, something that keeps coming up on the podcast is, what's an English word you always thought was Yiddish your whole life? And she's like, tush. I'm like, no, that's a Yiddish word. She's like, schmutz. I'm like, Tanta Selena, you're getting it wrong. She's like, mensch. I'm like, no, you're telling me, you're literally just listing Yiddish words that are popular that people use in the English language. I'm saying the opposite. She couldn't come up with any.
She did, because she knows Yiddish. She doesn't have anything like that. It's really funny.
Schmutz, no. Schmear, no. You're getting it wrong.
You don't
Never
answer
mind.
the question.
Never mind.
Not the target audience for that question, I think.
No, not the target audience. But
right.
But I do have some exciting fun news, which is that I talked to Dahlia Adler after Going by Coastal's podcast was released, and first of all she loved the episode.
Oh.
She loved it, and she's like, I have so much to say, but I know that's not how podcasts work. I'm like, no, tell me everything. Say it all. That's exactly how this podcast works. Like, our friends sent us messages about our podcast.
Right.
So she has never, well, I mean, some of this I actually do want to just talk about with her, because she has a lot of other books, but one other book that she has is called Cool for the Summer. Okay. And she suggested that we read Cool for the Summer, and if we like it, we can have her on and talk about that. But I also think maybe we could talk about Going by Coastal and her writing process in general, because Malia, she really is she's writing when her kids are asleep. Like, we're doing this when our kids are asleep, which is so amazing. And I really would love to talk to her. So I'm thinking in August, let's read Cool for the Summer, not for our next book, but in August, and then talk to Dahlia Adler. And she did have a lot of feedback about our podcast. The first thing she said was, okay, that was a fantastic listen. Thank you. I want to respond to so many things, but of course that's not how podcasts work. I so greatly appreciated this conversation, though, and I love so many things you picked up on that I haven't heard many or any readers notice, and that was just such a pleasure and honor. And she said, and I may have come away wanting to do a sleepaway camp romance with adults. So if we have inspired Dahlia Adler to write a sleepaway romance, amazing.
That our work, I mean, that's
exactly what we did. That's what we wanted.
I don't even know what to say. I was gonna say our work is done, but I don't want our work to be done.
It's not. It's only beginning. It's only beginning.
Thank
you. But because she is such a good writer.
Really.
And I would just love to read a Jewish summer camp romance written by her.
Amazing. That would be wonderful.
But she had a lot to say, and I think that maybe we should save it.
Okay.
But, some about the privilege, about the backyard camps. Her favorite part of the whole podcast was about my Persian friend Arash. It's like her Persian friend Arash, my Persian friend Arash. So anyway, it was great chatting with her, and I'm really excited to have her come on in August. So we'll read Cool for the Summer in August, and we're thinking about our next book. And there's a book Molly and I do not know a lot about. But this weekend on Sunday, I was at a friend's birthday party, and I was talking to a friend in town, a new friend in town, and something came up about what I do. And someone mentioned my podcast. She's like, oh, what's your podcast about? And I said, oh, I have a podcast where I review Jewish romance books. And she said, oh my God, I love that. I hope you did One Italian Summer. I said, we didn't do One Italian Summer. Are you sure it's Jewish? Because I had seen the cover of One Italian Summer, and I thought that it was just a kind of generic kind of chick lit romance of the summer, but I did not think it was a Jewish romance at all. She's like, well, the main character's Jewish. I was like, uh-huh. She's like, there was a Shiva in it. I was like, say less. That seems Jewish enough for us.
Totally. Yeah.
So I actually don't know if it is, but that's, I think, what what we will read next, and we'll see how Jewish it is.
Great.
Do you want to hear the description?
Please.
Okay, an instant New York Times bestseller. In this magical trip worth taking, actually, I'm skipping that part. That's a little review. Okay. When Katie's mother dies, she is left reeling. Carol wasn't just Katie's mom, but her best friend and her first phone call. She had all the answers, and now, when Katie needs her the most, she's gone. To make matters worse, their planned mother-daughter trip of a lifetime looms to Positano, the magical town where Carol spent the summer right before she met Katie's father. Katie has been waiting years for Carol to take her, and now she's faced with embarking on the adventure alone. But as soon as she steps foot on the Amalfi Coast, Katie begins to feel her mother's spirit. Buoyed by the stunning waters, beautiful cliffsides, delightful residents, and of course delectable food, Katie feels herself coming back to life. And then Carol appears, in the flesh, healthy, suntanned, and 30 years old. Katie doesn't understand what is happening or how. All she can focus on is that she has somehow impossibly gotten her mother back. Over the course of one Italian summer, Katie gets to know Carol, not as her mother, but as the young woman before her. She's not exactly who Katie imagined she might be, however, but soon Katie must reconcile the mother who knew everything with the young woman who does not yet have a clue.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't even know if it's a romance. I don't know why this person recommended it. Should we read it?
No, it didn't sound like a romance or Jewish, so.
Okay, here was the other one we were going to read just in case Molly and I make a decision after this podcast that we're going to read. Another one we were thinking of was the Summer of Lost Letters, which was the prequel to 8 Nights of Flirting.
Which we reviewed earlier in the year.
We reviewed 8 Nights of Flirting over Hanukkah, and the Summer of Lost Letters is the prequel to that. And it is Jewish, and it takes place in Nantucket one summer.
And it's continuing with our YA theme here.
Exactly. Would you like to hear that description?
Sure.
Okay. That book, coming right up, 17-year-old Abby Schoenberg. Okay, phew. I did read it, though. It's 17-year-old Abby Schoenberg isn't exactly looking forward to the summer before her senior year. She's just broken up with her first boyfriend, and her friends are all off in different, exciting directions for the next 3 months. Abby needs a plan, an adventure of her own. Enter the letters. They show up one rainy day along with the rest of Abby's recently deceased grandmother's possessions. And these aren't any old letters. They're love letters. Love letters from a mystery man named Edward. Love letters from a mansion on Nantucket. Abby doesn't know much about her grandmother's past. She knows she was born in Germany and moved to the U.S. when she was 5, fleeing the Holocaust. But the details are either hazy or non-existent, and these letters depict a life that is a bit different than the quiet one Abby knows about. And so Abby heads to Nantucket for the summer to learn more about her grandmother and the secret she kept. But when she meets Edward's handsome grandson, who wants to stop her from investigating, things get complicated. As Abby and Noah grow closer, the mysteries in their families deepen, and they discover that they both have to accept the burdens of their past if they want the kinds of futures they've always imagined.
Okay,
that was another one we were considering. Should we do one more and then figure it out?
Okay.
Yeah?
Sure, let's do a potpourri here.
Okay. Here's another one that I heard was Jewish.
Okay.
I think that it's going to fit with our YA theme for summer. It's called Those Summer Nights by Laura Silverman. Hannah used to be all about focus, back before she shattered her ankle and her Olympic dreams in one bad soccer play. These days, she's all about distraction, anything to keep the painful memories of her recent past at bay, including the string of bad decisions that landed her at boarding school for a year. Enter Bonanza, the local entertainment multiplex and site of Hannah's summer employment, with its mini golf course, bowling alley, and arcade, not to mention her hot, flirty coworker Patrick. Bonanza seems like the perfect way to stay distracted, until her boss announces the annual Bonanza tournament, a staff competition that brings her past Olympic nightmares crashing back into her present. On top of that, the Bonanza staff includes Bree, the ex-best friend she cut off last year, and Ethan, her brother's best friend who became unreasonably attractive in her year away and who accepts her even knowing her worst secrets. Under the neon lights of Bonanza, Hannah must decide whether she could find a way to discover a new self in the midst of her old life. I don't know. I don't know. You want me to keep going? I could read B'nai Mitzvah Mistake, which we're definitely going to read at some point. Are you sold on any of these yet?
I could go with, I mean, I mean, I liked 8 Nights of Flirting. It might be fun to revisit that in the context of summer.
Yeah. It was really good.
Yeah. So why don't we try that?
Summer of Lost Letters was a good book. I read it. I'm going to read it again for this.
So let's go for it.
Okay, I'm also going to check out One Italian Summer, and if I feel like it is Jewish enough,
we can pivot to that.
We could pivot to it, but I'll report back. But our plan will be the Summer of Lost Letters.
Yep.
And I'll keep everyone posted on One Italian Summer. Stephanie, new friend, if you're listening, sorry we're doubting you.
Right. But tell us more.
Yes, tell us more. Tell us more. We're gonna check it out. So okay, this was fun. You got to see me and Malia figuring out how we figure out what books to read.
Yeah. We really tackled, the light and the heavy with this one.
We did. So this podcast is brought to you by Hanukkah Pong, a menorah-shaped beer pong, available on Amazon. Amazing for Hanukkah or all year round. And Malia, we're going to get a new sponsor next week, a real one.
Wow, we're going places with this.
I can't wait to tell you about it.
Okay, I can't wait to hear about it.
New sponsor is coming. This podcast is produced by William Levin. I am Rachel. This is Malia. Good night.
Good night.